This man suddenly realized he had been forgotten on Mars for 108 days. He desperately tried to send a message back to Earth. After a search, he found the Pathfinder rover, launched in 1970. Many years had passed, and he didn't know if it was still functioning properly. But he didn't give up hope of returning to Earth. He activated Pathfinder, and the old device buried in the dust began to operate. Its signal receiver was pointed at a nearby space station. Soon, the Space Center staff on Earth realized that Pathfinder was working. Now they could establish contact with the machine on Mars. Mark saw Pathfinder begin to move on its own. But it was a very old machine. The distance between Earth and Mars was so vast that sending a message took 30 minutes. Then Mark realized he had established contact with the Space Center on Earth. He returned to base, retrieved several whiteboards, and wrote simple messages on them. He then hung the whiteboards in front of a camera. Half an hour later, people on Earth saw the footage. They were overjoyed. Although they could only communicate by rotating the camera, contact had been established. Mark devised a quick way to communicate. He drew a circle around Pathfinder and placed a whiteboard with letters written on it at a certain distance. The Space Center on Earth did the same. They would rotate the camera and select a letter, which Mark would write down. He could then easily decode and understand the complete message. But this took a lot of time. A simple sentence could take hours. The scientists at the Space Center found a solution. They taught Mark to change Pathfinder's communication code in just a few days. It could now connect directly to the communications rover. This allowed the Space Center uninterrupted communication. Seeing all this, everyone at the Space Center gathered together. They were amazed by Mark's courage, but they had to tell him that he would have to stay on Mars alone for 4 years. During this time, they could launch a new mission, Ares 4. Mark had plenty of potatoes, enough to sustain him for a year. The Space Center said they would launch a rocket to help him survive for the next 4 years, but things didn't go as planned. That very night, Mark was in the lab. The pressure channel malfunctioned. The lab was damaged, causing a pressure separation between the inside and outside. Suddenly, a loud explosion shattered. Mark's helmet broke, and oxygen began to leak. He immediately sealed the helmet with duct tape to save his life. But as cold air rushed into the lab, everything was covered in ice. His only food supply was exhausted. All the potatoes had rotted. Mark reported the situation to the Space Center. The situation had become extremely dire. The Space Center accelerated the rocket's construction. A month later, the rocket was finally completed. Meanwhile, Mark had only 400 days worth of food reserves left. The rocket was launched without any checks. If everything had gone smoothly, he could have received supplies in time. After the launch, everyone was ecstatic. But soon, they discovered that the rocket was vibrating abnormally. Before any action could be taken, the rocket exploded in midair. The mission failed due to a rushed launch. By the time a new rocket was completed, Mark had already died of starvation, leaving everyone disappointed. On the 147th day, Mark learned of the rocket launch failure and thus gave up hope of survival. When food ran out, he simply awaited death. But if you want to see more, this movie is called The Martian.